All right, so we're gonna start taking this bumper off. As you can kind of see down here, there's these carriage bolts where it's bolted into the brackets. They're pretty rusted out. That is one of them right there. It snapped off. I soaked them down with WD-40, but it doesn't seem to be helping too much. But I'm gonna see if I can just take off the whole brackets themselves. If you can kind of see that right there, that's what they stuck on there. It looks like a centric nut on a bolt, welded, a bunch of really poor welding in there just to hold this thing on. I mean, I don't care if I can essentially break this thing off so I can set it up the right way. Obviously we see the other side where it's just kind of held on with wire and a bolt that's just kind of hanging out. So I'm gonna rip the whole thing off and kind of reconfigure how they have it on there. So I got that nut off, or that bolt off. There's nothing else holding it except some really bad welds. I'm gonna try to get the old pry bar in there and see if I can just snap her loose. Let's cut the cord off that side and see if it'll drop. All right, we'll see how this goes. The bolt on the other side is going up in at an angle and halfway in, and just kind of left it. I don't know if it's gonna thread out or not, but we'll see what happens. Of course, it's a different size. Okay, so on the other side, so she's welded on there instead of using the nut that was down there. I mean, it looks like maybe it's stripped or something like that, or they just couldn't get it far enough in, or I don't know, whatever the case needs to be. But that weld is kicking my butt. I can't seem to get it off, so I'm gonna have to cut it off. Yeah, seems to be the easiest route, I'm thinking. But after that, I've gotten the other side loose, so it should all come down. Pretty sure I got, let's see. So that side is welded on too. So if I'm grinding one, I might as well grind them both, I guess. Great. So this is where we're at. I'm on the passenger side right now. I'm gonna go ahead and grind all that garbage off and see if I can break this thing loose so I can take these guys off, sandblast them hopefully, and repaint them, maybe powder coat them, and get them bolted back into place. I'll probably see about welding a nut on the inside of that, and then I can actually have something to bolt onto. Or even if I have to shift it over, I'm not sure yet why it is where it is. It looks like they couldn't get it all the way forward. And I mean, I know this is a bumper conversion, so maybe that's the case, but I can kind of figure that out once everything's back together and I can test fit it. So for now, grind away. Alright, so I got it off. Here she is. You can see these guys were welded in place, which why it's yet to be determined. But I'm gonna pull them off. I'm sure they're gonna break off because, you know, Michigan. And I'm gonna see if I can get them sandblasted. I may just replace a few or all of them. This is pretty bad. We'll see if I can find a clean set. Otherwise, I'll probably just mend them back as best as I can, and I'll take it from there. I'm also going to sand down this bumper, which looks like it's been painted a couple times already anyways. I'm going to sand it down and give it the same satin black that I've been giving everything else so far. So it should match all of this stuff. That's the look we're going for here. I might kind of go over this stuff at least with like a wire brush maybe, or even scuff pad, just to clean it up and hit it with that same black. And you can see a lot of it's flaking already. Looks like they didn't know prep when they coated over the old stuff, so yeah, we'll take it from there. Alright guys, I've been working on it and give you a little bit of an update. Let's see if we can get down here. I have actually been grinding it all down, and I got it to a pretty good place. I got all that slag off of there and nice and smooth on both sides. Took a little bit of cutting and grinding, but that isn't as nice in this area. I actually would like to fill it, or rather cut out a piece of steel and then, you know, go ahead and weld some new steel in there just so it's nice and solid. I don't know what these are used for. They might not even be used at this point. I may go ahead and clean those off and weld them up as well. Like I said before, I took the bumper off and I primed it. I cleaned it off, primed it, painted it. Same thing with the brackets. I got new hardware for it, and this is what we're looking at right now. So I mean, she's looking decent. By no means perfect. The bumper itself is pretty bent up. I mean, you could just see it at this angle, you know, she's pretty wavy, and I don't really want to spend the time working on it right now. I see a spot there I missed. I'll have to get that later. I had some trouble finding the bumper insulators for these support brackets. I actually ended up 3D printing some out of what's called TPU, which is a rubberized kind of plastic. So they feel good, they're nice and tight, they're tough. We're gonna see how well they hold up. You know, maybe if anybody else is interested, I can make some for them as well. At this point, I'm gonna kind of bolt it all together and then throw it on, kind of get it mocked up, and figure out what of these holes in here are gonna be the ones that I'm using. Everything else I'll fill up, and I will either, I mean, who knows, I might not even like where they land and make new holes. I'll probably tack some nuts on the inside of it and use those as my holes. But that's what I'm gonna do at this point. Don't know where my other camera is right now, so I'm probably not going to record the mock-up process, but she's coming along. We're getting there. Alright, so this is how she looks all mocked up right now. You can obviously see where it's all dented up and everything. It is what it is at this point. I'm sure I'll get a replacement later on, but right now I just need to get those bumpers and everything, or the brackets all fitted. I like how everything sits, the gapping kind of going along semi-consistent. Unfortunately, I scratched this thing up a bit putting it in, but what are you gonna do? So about a ½ inch there. Comes over here a little less, but it has some play once I get everything all welded into place. So I kind of outlined the brackets themselves, how they're gonna sit. So that hole, you can see I did a little circle in there. I'm gonna drill that out, and I'm gonna actually weld a nut in place so I can have a bolt that just threads right into that. Then once I have that in place, there's another hole around here that I'll do the same thing. I'll drill it out, I'll put a nut on the inside, then I can kind of screw them both in at the same time so they're nice and sturdy. Same thing with the other side. Let's see, right there. It's actually dropped right now, but I just didn't want to move the bumper around too much. But I can potentially get into that same hole. Just don't want to tweak it too much. Actually, I might, because that looks pretty good where that's at. Well, it's higher than the other side though. I don't know, I'll play around with it and open it up, weld the nut in there, and then I have some holes to drill to. Same thing with that one right there. So let's get to it. All right, so I got everything kind of mocked up and in place right now. I mean, it's obviously not connected. I took it off so I can kind of clean everything up. I went through and I cleaned the holes up to the best that I could. Go ahead and get some light going in here. This hole right here is actually going to be the main one that I'm using for this guy, and it's slotted a bit, so there's going to be room for play. And then this hole is actually one that I tapped into the frame, and it's going to be my secondary that I can kind of pivot off of. And then I cleaned all the metal off. This one I actually had to weld in, and then I primered and just kind of put some rust preventative on there, and I did that on both sides. Everything was mocked up not so long ago, and it fits great. I'm pretty happy with it. I just took everything back off so I can kind of put that nice coat of paint on there. I don't know where my flashlight is at the moment, but I'm really hoping everything bolts up nice and clean once it's all back together. And then kind of move on to the next thing. I did take these side markers off. I'm gonna kind of take them, and like I've been doing everything else, I'm gonna excuse me, I'm gonna black out this chrome. It's seen better days anyways. And then I'm gonna take these brackets and sandblast them and just paint them black, clean them up a little bit, and then put all that back together, and it'll finally be the blacked out front that I want. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I still have to address this front grille. I'm just gonna take some Scotch-Brite and kind of scuff up this chrome pretty good, and then I have to make a piece that's gonna bridge this gap. I want to say there's another crack somewhere that I can just kind of mend back together. And then I'll go through that same process of, you know, how I sand everything down, primer it a bunch, and then use that same matte or satin black that I've been using. That should be the last of all the bits that I have all set up, that I can kind of put all this front end back together. New side markers, new running lights, new headlights, and should be good to go. Alright, it's been a couple days since I actually did any of the painting in here, so it should be very dry at this point, so that shouldn't be an issue. And hopefully that doesn't cause any kind of rusting later on. I mean, obviously she's a little beaten up, so it's not going to be perfect. Unfortunately, we got some scratches while I was installing it, or test fitting it rather. And it is what it is. It's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, as you can see, this plate itself it's seen better days. But we're going to put it back together. I'm going to start off with the brackets themselves and just kind of get them in place, maybe slightly loosely, so I have a little bit of room to play with. And just kind of get everything evened out. Then I can finish putting the headlights in and wire them to the turn signals themselves. I was initially going to sand the grill down and fix this little area here and then paint it all black, but I don't think I'm going to worry about that right now. I mean, I'm still going to paint it black, but I think I'm going to either make or buy a Maverick grill later on, so I'm not too worried about making that one perfect. But yeah, I mean, let's get to it. I'm probably going to throw this on a time lapse because it's not that exciting to watch me assemble all this, but let's get after it. So this is how she's sitting right now. She looks pretty good all through here. A little more gap on the end here. And then this side's a little tight. So I'm gonna actually see if I can pull this side out a little bit. I mean, I did slot the holes a bit, but I'm not sure if I did them enough to get enough play out of this. So we'll see what we can do. Well, that's about as good as she's gonna get. As you can see, here's pretty decent along here, a little tight in the center, and then all the way through right there. I'm happy with that. Happy with how that turned out. Let's see how they look bolted in there. Oh yeah, nice and clean. Love it. I did pull the side markers out there, and I'm actually blacking those out. Like everything else, you know, more stuff to slow me down. So there that looks nice. I like it. I like it. All right. Still in the process of blacking this guy out. It's taking longer than I thought. Soaking up my paint. But anyways, so this is the headlight, the LED headlight. I wired it up to the original side marker. I'm going to give you guys a little sample of what it's going to look like. Let's see if I can set you up here for a second. Alright, so I tried to get into a position where you guys can see it, but it's not going to blind you. So, let's see. So that's going to be your headlights. There's your highs. And then we got turn signal. I don't know how I like it, to be honest. I mean, I'll definitely get rid of these once I have the new grill, but it is what it is for now. We'll go with it. Although I'm not sure why that isn't working as a running light, because it's definitely tied into the same thing. The headlight itself is definitely cool. Obviously, I don't care for how it pairs up with the OEM side marker, or not side marker, but the running light. But I'm not going to have a big gap in my front grille, so I'll at least have it in place and we'll kind of figure it out from there. I'm going to continue the wiring for it. I am making a little jumper just because it's going to be difficult to feed the wire from here going in through the grill. See if I can kind of show you how I wired this. Okay, so I got the plug that goes into the regular harness right there. And then you have two connectors here. One's going to be for your turn signal, one's going to be for your running light. And I tapped them into this side marker, which was running fine. Not sure why it's not giving me the running light. Maybe it's not running light. I don't remember. But in any event, and then they're all going to be using that same ground. So pretty easy to wire up. Unfortunately, I don't have enough shrink tube to run these whole lines, so I just did a couple points here and there to keep them together, and then I'm just going to go ahead and throw some wire loom over it for now. We'll just run with that. Alright, we got the grill painted up and ready to go. It's not my favorite. Ended up going through a couple different coats and it didn't turn out how I wanted. It kind of has a texture to it. It kind of is what it is. It wasn't perfect from the get-go. I mean, we could see this crack down here, or a broken piece right there. And I'll say there was a couple cracks in there, but she'll be fine for what it is. We're going to get her on and finally get everything back together. Hopefully she looks as good as I think she will. And, you know, we'll be ready to move on to other parts of the car. Alright, let's get this grill together before we put it on the vehicle. Then there'll just be a couple connections and we should be good to go. I'm going to try to do this to the best of my memory. It's obviously been a while, so let's see how it goes. these are my new connectors for those new lights that are tied into these guys. Let's see. So I fed this one through the back there. I'm going to set that gasket that I made on top of there, and then put that light on, and then one of these guys. I actually wish I did either the grill or this to the same finish, because I feel like it's noticeable, but maybe it's just me being anal about it. No, not looking at that. I don't know where those screws are. That guy on. I think that's right. I guess I know somewhere didn't need to be in. Just once I get it back on, I'll put those nuts through it. Till then, I'm gonna get these guys all lined up. Alright, nice and sandwiched in there. These two nuts, or thread, these two studs I'm going to feed through, and put a nut on the back end of those. Right there, right there. You know what? I gotta put this bracket on first. Let's go ahead and flip that. We'll put that bracket on. Then we can put it all together, do the other side, and then put it on top of the vehicle. Now I don't know if these go this way or this way. Looking at the vehicle, I don't see a reason why it should be an issue either way. Maybe there's just enough stuff taken off of this, it doesn't matter, but I'm just going to go with it. I definitely don't matter. I remember at this point, it's been a while, so we're going with it. Crack the plastic, and voila. Looks like it's sitting flush. Well, that's how she's gonna look. Let's get the other side done. Go with it. Alright, here she goes. All back together, both of them in. I actually went ahead and did some electrical tape on the wiring itself just to clean it up a bit. Let's get her in and see how she looks. Let's get a little bit of electric grease in these connectors. Yeah. I'm missing two of these guys. one right here, and then another one on the lower. I'm just gonna have to get those a little bit later because I didn't have the couple that I thought I did have, so. And that's how you chip your paint. Alright, so we're gonna set it there first so I can get these connections in. Ground's gonna go there. This guy's gonna come over to these, my jumpers. Looking at that, I kind of wish I put the covered connectors just for the sake of them making contact with each other. So I think I'll probably do that in a second here. Once I can get these grounds set up. So I forget what this kind of electrical tape is called. It's like a fabric, and it holds a lot better than regular electrical tape, and it doesn't get all nasty once it gets all hot. I definitely recommend it. If I can figure out or remember what the name is, I'll throw it in the comments, or if somebody else knows it, please add it so I don't have to try and remember it. Not the prettiest setup, but it's kind of tucked away and hidden anyway, so if you don't tell anyone, I won't. I actually wish I took this guy off and painted it as well, but too late now. Deal with it maybe over next winter. I'd like to get this thing on the road, so I'm not dinking around. So we get that ground started. Bolt for that one is up there. Ground, I don't have a bolt for right now. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, wrong way. No, that looks good. Let's go ahead and reconnect the battery. Then let's just make sure it still works. You know? Good. Real good for headlights. Turn signal. Done. That bulb isn't working. Well, that looked really good otherwise. Let me take a quick look and make sure everything looks good on this. Side on the loose side. Let's see if we can squeeze it down just a hair. There we go. Get one more look at it. But that's an issue for another time. Probably ground somewhere, all the bulbs should be working. The last thing I need to do yet are the side markers down here. I ended up pulling those and I was putting them back together. They ended up cracking right where the bolt holes are. So I can't put them back together yet. I did have the housing, I blacked them all out. Just waiting for new lenses to come in. Unfortunately, it's a holiday, so they're taking their time. Once I get that all back together, I think I'm gonna do a little more fun work. Fun to me. I'm gonna go through these brakes. I know they felt like crap when I was trying to move this thing. So we'll see if, they kind of felt like they were locking up. So I'm gonna go through it, make sure everything's fine. It actually looks like a couple lines were replaced. So maybe the shoes are worn or the wheel cylinders are bad. It also looked like the master is relatively new. So I'm gonna assume that isn't the issue at this point, or it could have just been bled poorly. But we won't know until we get it all in the air. And while it's in the air, I'm going to go ahead and replace the rear diff seal. I can't remember what it's called right now. Pinion seal, because that's leaking pretty good. And I also have, since I was having those shifting issues, I picked up BM Quicksilver shifter in black to go with the theme we got going here. So I'll go through the install on that once I'm ready for that. Stick with me, we're getting there. It's taking longer than I wanted, but I like the way the progress is going. I work on it when I can and update you guys as soon as I can. Until then, thanks for watching. Stick with me.